my pleasure now to introduce Liam Harris, who is the current chair of the association. Liam, when he left school in 2010, immediately joined the committee, the youngest member ever, I believe, and has been the chair since, we think, 2014. So he's now, despite his young, youthful appearance, has been around for quite a bit. He trained at the Central School of Speech and Drama and did his PGCE at the Institute of Education, and is currently head of drama at Hurstpierpoint College. That's easy for me to say. Liam is going to set the tone and give us a keynote to launch us this afternoon. Over to Liam.
Thank you very much, Guy. So when media outlets leaked the apparent Department for Education proposals for the return to school in September 2020, educators across the country were aghast. Students sitting facing forward in rows, a reduced curriculum that would see only English, maths and science taught until summer 2021, and standardised lessons that would be pushed out from a central hub seemed like a Govian dream. Thankfully, these leaks differed from the actual announcement made by Williamson a few days later. Nevertheless, these leaks could be a useful wake-up call for all of us. Change in education is coming, but what that change will look like balances on a knife edge, and we have the power to change it. A number of key questions are raised for us as pedagogues. In the short term, how can we develop meaningful learning experiences for our young people in a socially distanced classroom? How can we teach our subject online or at a distance without losing the human interaction and imaginative play at the heart of our subject? How can we possibly blend learning meaningfully in school and at home to ensure that students are not alienated from the drama that they know and love? And in the long term, can we articulate and, most importantly, actively coordinate the change to be the liberation of education that NATD have been calling for so many years? A child-centred curriculum taught through a humanising pedagogy with an assessment model that embraces the full range of student achievement? Or will we allow it to be the Govian nightmare, with students sitting in rows as empty vessels to be filled? I invite you to consider the following lesson outline through the lens of your own context. I've chosen Romeo and Juliet as the source material because it will be known to most, if not all, and frequently appears on the syllabus from Key Stage 1 right the way through to Key Stage 5 due to its rich subject matter. As I describe the possibilities, I would encourage you to reflect upon these questions. What is it about the source material that speaks to you as a teacher artist? And how might you adapt the learning for your own context? When considering the opening of the text, I'm immediately drawn to the street fight between the warring families. Ordinarily, the Year 9 student in me would jump towards setting up a fight scene full of stage combat tips that would get the students engaged. Yet there are other resonances in the opening moments of the play, especially when we consider the recent experience of our students and the context within which we live. A more sophisticated educator might be drawn instead to Prince Aeschylus's speech at the opening of Romeo and Juliet, and his decree, "Those who disturb the peace will be punished by death." All of a sudden, the consequences of our Year 9 fight takes on a greater meaning. The community seems to rejoice at the tough stance taken, yet immediately rue the implications for their own children. For this teacher, the contradiction resonates with the daily decrees of the current government, whether as a response to breaches of COVID-19 restrictions, or indeed the Black Lives Matter protests, both at home and abroad. The words of Aeschylus become the words of Johnson and Trump. Despite being in lockdown, I know that many of our students, especially those cut adrift in Year 11 and the upper 6th, will have attended illegal lockdown raves. I also know that many young people attended the recent Black Lives Matter protests. The teacher's interest is piqued, and the learning aims for the scheme develop. How might the impact of state intervention be felt in the day-to-day lives of young people and their families? The teacher begins to set up their drama, developing ways in which to protect the students into role through some home learning tasks. The teacher sends home a simple bird's eye view of the outline of the town square in Verona, perhaps with some supporting images to stimulate the imagination. The students are tasked with sketching the layout of the marketplace and its various stalls on top. A further home learning task might be for the student to imagine the sights, sounds, smells and tastes of the marketplace, completing a short piece of creative writing to capture their ideas, or a mood board as an alternative to writing and an introduction to semiotic design elements. Upon their return to school, students share this with a partner. They then work in pairs to map out a stall on the classroom floor with masking tape, folding in their thinking from the previous tasks. One of the students follows the instruction of the other to adhere to social distancing measures and to minimise the handling of equipment. The teacher might even prepare squares for the students to use for this task to ensure space is well managed and ensure safe distance is maintained. Once the marketplace has been mapped out, the teacher might invite the students to imagine what it might have been like for the stall owner on their opening day. The excitement, the nervousness and the buzz of opening a brand new business. The risk, the worry and the concern of it all if it goes wrong. They have 2 children, one 14, the other 9 years old. If this fails, how will they possibly feed those children? If it is a success, just think of the future prosperity that they will enjoy. The students work together to write a diary entry. Student A could then take on the role of the stall owner, enacting the finishing touches made for the grand opening, while B reads the diary entry. The teacher could then inch closer towards the events of the play, informing students that there has been a brawl and much damage has been done to the marketplace. Windows have been smashed and products have been looted, the significance of which will be heightened now that the students have invested into the marketplace stall themselves. This could even be narrated over recorded sounds of the writing and the damage to stimulate the imagination of the student. As student A enacts the repairing of the damage, perhaps using the cues picked up from the sound effects they have just heard, a window smash or a brick on the floor, student B takes on the role of their child. They happen to be present at the brawl last night and are ashamed of the damage that has been caused. They stand in the doorway, observing their parent clean up the mess unseen. The teacher wonders how the child might break the silence. That's if they do at all. After allowing the students to develop the moment, the teacher might introduce Aeschylus's speech through Teacher in Role. As students listen to the decree that future disturbances will be punishable by death, they adopt frozen positions that capture their reaction to what they have heard. We might see cheering from the stall owners, clenched fists from children, and looks of concern from parents. The teacher might ask for some spoken thoughts from selected students. With the context of the opening of the play established, the teacher might spend some time developing the perspective of the child. The teacher might narrate that despite the threat of strict punishment, the children must remain concerned about their own safety, and they feel as though they must protect themselves. The stall owner's older child is part of a loyal group of friends. Adults refer to them as a gang, but they don't see it like that. They carry a knife with them. They think it is for their protection. But in fact, today their younger sibling witnessed them hide the knife in their clothing. What will the younger sibling do? What should they do? The teacher sets up a task by placing a representation of the knife in the centre of the room. They encourage students to write the younger child's thoughts onto post-it notes and place them around the image of the knife placed centrally. As the teacher reads these aloud, the students adopt a physical position of the younger child alone in their room, physicalising the dilemma. In their pairs, the teacher might encourage the students to share their depictions, one sharing their work, while the other writes down a description of how meaning has been communicated through the use of physical skills, developing their writing as a part of the exam spec. We might share the descriptions to get a sense of the roles developing around the room and to gauge the students' understanding. Or this might be completed as a home learning task with some writing frames to help students' responses. So far, these tasks have been short and highly controlled, protecting the students' interrole and developing the pretext for an extended improvisation of significant drama event, where each of the threads that piqued the teacher's initial interest meet. A dramatic moment which draws the social and the political together to explore the initial learning question: how might the impact of state intervention be felt in the day-to-day lives of young people and their families? The teacher explains the context of the improvisation. The child is hoping to meet up with their friends that evening. The parent continues to repair the damage from the night before. They have so much work to do that they will need to work through the night in order to open the following morning. How does the child convince the parent to let them out of the house? The pretext that has been layered into the moment enables the students a rich learning experience with plenty of dilemma to be explored. The teacher might set up a shared Google Doc or Padlet for students to share possible thought processes for each of the roles. They might articulate that the parent is likely to be worried for their child's safety, and may even have suspicions that the child is carrying a knife. Suddenly, the decree of the state that they had previously celebrated is now endangering the safety of their own child. Through the drama event that the teacher has created, the students are invited to feel the full effects of state intervention in the lives of the roles they enact. Before setting the students off on their improvisations, they might place some carefully crafted questions to guide the students. To what extent will the parent go to prevent their child from leaving the house? Will they allow them to leave, knowing that they may be carrying a knife? Do they even have the time to argue? They need to get the shop repaired in time for opening, otherwise they may not be able to put food on the table. To what extent will the child go to leave the house to meet with their friends? They know that their parent is under a great deal of stress, trying to repair their only source of income. How far will they go to conceal the fact that they are carrying a knife? It is likely that they want to avoid their parents' shame, but also believe that they need to protect themselves from harm. I imagine that the outcomes of the above improvisation would be widely varied, all of which can operate under the additional constraint of no contact. We might witness the parent stand in front of the doorway, demanding that the child turns out their pockets before they will allow them to leave. Or we might witness the child lash out in anger at the shelf that the parent had just fixed. We might even witness the child leaving, but returning with their friends to help repair the damage. A useful tool for unpacking the dramatic action that arises might be David Davis's version of Heathcote's 5 layers of meaning. Through careful questioning, the teacher can lead the students through a reflection process that allows them to digest the action from their improvisations and to make connections with the world around them. You can see from the example here how a dramatic action might be analysed, drawing a connection between the parent throwing open the door in frustrated exhaustion and the economic pressures on parents to provide for their family. It is easy to imagine how resonance might emerge for the young person with the context within which they are living, whether sneaking out of the house in the middle of a pandemic to attend a march that they believe in, or understanding the difficulties of parenting in a financial crisis. The world of Romeo and Juliet created a meaningful learning experience, both at home and within the classroom. Within your breakout rooms, the chair will guide you through a thought process and encourage a dialogue to help you develop resonating experiences from a range of carefully selected stimuli. I encourage you to contribute to the discussion, considering how we might craft meaningful collaborative learning experiences for the young people in our care that does not just involve sitting in rows or regurgitating monologues until normal practice can resume. We are standing on a knife edge. Let's make sure education comes down on the right side of history.